start down. So come and lie on your back. Have your knees bent and your feet flat to the floor. Let me just spin my view so I can see all of you guys. Oh, that's better. All right, so just make sure the knees bent up, your ankles underneath your knees. And then I want you just to find a center place for your pelvis. So if you just roll backward and forward a couple of times, flattening your lower back, arching your lower back. And then find me middle ground. Push strongly down through your left foot. So the left side of your pelvis comes up toward the ceiling. The right side drops down toward the floor. Let that go and then press down with the right foot. Bring the right side up. Let the left side drop down. And then do that fairly quickly a few times. So you're just rocking from side to side. And then come on back to center and see if you can just join those 4 points, the belly button, a hip bone, a pubic bone, a hip bone, and a belly button by circling the pelvis around. You can choose what direction of travel you want to take. We're just going to go 3 one way, 3 the other. We won't pay it too much attention, just try to really create a circle shape. And then right about now, you should be reversing if you haven't already. Just to get a little bit of movement into your back. And then come back to center and see if you can find me that middle ground. So if you feel with your hand, you want to feel that each pelvic bone is level relative to the other one. So that may require you to do some weight shifting on the back of the body to make sure you're not sitting down into one bum cheek more than the other. And then ideally, those 2 bones would also be level with the pubic bone. If to do that, you can feel that you have to pick your ribs up off the floor, then you guys should be well versed in knowing that pillowing the head, neck, and shoulders up is what you need to do to just allow all of this to settle back and down. So your goal now is to do the movement we're going to go through, but without changing the pelvis at all. So the first tricky part is going to be sliding your left leg out to straight. And then if you can feel that side of the pelvis has dropped down toward the floor, can you play with bringing it up and level on the right side? Now the right knee comes in towards you as far as you possibly can without letting the pelvis change. So I need you to really pay attention to that. So we did these standing some weeks back where you were holding on to the broomstick or the pole or the something to bring one leg up without changing the pelvis. When you lie on the floor, you can really feel the motion. Now you're going to start to take the knee out toward the side and pay attention now to keeping the left side and the right side of your pelvis level. If you start to drop down into that right side or whichever is your circling knee, then you're taking the pelvis with you and not really working on the hip joint. Now there's only so far out you can go, and then start to angle the knee a little forward and across towards the left-hand side or your standing leg, and then complete the circle by bringing it back in. So I want you to do that 2 more times with this idea that the pelvis would never get to move. And you may find that your turn out and turn in are less than you think they are, which is just fine. I do want you particularly to pay attention to not allowing the back ribs to help you out. So there's no arching through the back to see if you can get the leg to come round a little bit further. So I've completed my third one way, so now I'm going to switch out the other way. And for most people, when I watch them, it's the ability to turn the leg out and not take the pelvis with it that's really hard. So if you were trying to get a real extreme version of a turnout, or say if you're dancing and it's really important that everything looks a certain way, then you would take the leg as far as you can and you'd let the pelvis come help you out. But because we're trying to work really deep into the hip socket, is why I want you to try and make sure that the pelvis doesn't help you out at all. Okay, so I'm just about to finish my third one and then change the legs over. So when both legs are out to straight, find level and then see where that other leg, for me it's my left one, can come into without changing that. And sometimes it's you can feel it change, but can you fix it? If you can fix it, keep going. If you really can't fix it, then you want to think about making the movement as small as possible. And then you can start turning out or turning in, whatever makes sense to you. It doesn't really matter, 3 circles each way. But the goal is to watch that the standing leg side doesn't get to move. It doesn't get to help out. And sometimes you just have to let go of worrying about trying to make a really big movement to actually be able to make a really precise movement. And then you may find that there's some places that you've not worked into for a while where it becomes a lot of work to move the leg around without being able to drag the other side of your body with you. So I'm just about finishing that third one, so I'm going to reverse. On my least favorite side. And then I'm just about coming up to finish this one. And then letting the foot come down to the floor. And then letting the other one come up to join it. Okay, so set the ankles directly, set the ankles directly underneath the knees. Your arms by your side, but the palms facing up toward the ceiling. So as you exhale, come up into shoulder bridge by pressing your back into the floor and then peeling your back bones up and off the floor. So briefly at the top, weight on the top 1/3 of your back, the hip sockets trying to lift, the knees trying to reach forward. And then start to roll back down. And maybe when you've got 1 or 2 bones down, now begin to bring your head up. Look up toward the ceiling and then forward along the ceiling through the knees as the spine travels down. As it begins to land, let your upturned palms come off the floor and reach towards your toes. Now, as you start to pick the pelvis up, let the eyes follow the journey back up the wall, back up to the ceiling until your head comes down, the back of your hands come down, the pelvis up. There's that brief moment at the top where you get to open up the hip joint. As soon as you start the journey down, let your head come up, let the eyes go to the ceiling, along the ceiling, down whatever is in front of you, the hands coming off the floor, reaching towards your toes. And then one more time, pulling the pelvis up, rolling back down, letting the back of the hands come onto the floor, opening everything up. And then head comes up, looking to the ceiling, across the ceiling, out through the knees. Reach for the toes, and then hold here and bring the knees into your chest. Fold your hands over your shins, and as you pull your knees into you, can you use your arm grip to bring your upper body a little bit closer towards your knees? Hold into this position and turn your head to the right, to the center, to the left, to the center, to right, center, left, center, hold there. Reach your arms forward, palms facing down now. Extend the legs forward slowly, and by extend, keep the knees bent initially. Find a place where the low back is on the floor, but the thigh bones have moved away from the chest. Now extend the legs upward and bring them together. Rotate them out and press your heels in. Pump your arms and breathe. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, can you curl up deeper? In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, up and forward. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, curling deeper. Last 2 rounds. On the exhale, deepen the head over the belly button, eyes straight out between the inner thighs, heels pushing into each other. And on that final exhale, hold everything and bend your knees in and rest your head all the way down. Okay, keep the arms planted by your side, and now keep the heels connected, but open the knees so that they are no wider than the ends of your shoulders. So can you just check in for me with that? Press one heel against the other and let it release. Can you do that 2 or 3 times? This is going to sound old-fashioned, but as if you were trying to hold a postage stamp between your heels. Okay, so now squeeze the heels together and extend the legs forward and up, paying attention to what this is doing to the small of your back, and bend the knees in. So if the legs going out all the way to straight means that you cannot control the back ribs to the floor, then don't take them all the way to straight, or play with a different angle. Maybe you go higher, maybe you go lower, to make sure that the ribs are down, the pelvis is down, and the curve of your lower back stays in situ all the time. Okay, last 2, pushing the heels out and away, bring them back in, push them out and away, and bring them back in. And then holding on to the back of your thighs, rock on up to seated. And in sitting, dig your heels to the floor and point your toes up towards the ceiling. Bring your arms forward at shoulder height. So when you push the heels down and forward, I want you to roll back to about halfway up the back of your pelvis-ish, and then pull the heels to come forward. So you're not going anywhere towards the top of the pelvis. You're definitely not sitting the small of your back onto the floor, but maybe just going from being right on your sit bones to about halfway up your sacrum, if that makes sense to you, and pull forward. Okay, now the next time you get back to that point, stay there and fix your gaze on the horizon. From here, interlace your fingers and bring your hands to the back of your head. Now let your upper body take a turn to the right and center. Turn to the left and center. Keep going. If it gets too much on your back, you come forward and you do the turn up at the top. Okay, because it's difficult on camera to tell you exactly where you need to be, but it shouldn't get into the small of your back. It might create some trembling in your stomach. And then center, bring the arms forward, roll up, slide the legs out to straight, bow your head between 2 arms, reach forward with your arms and your heels. Exhale and pull back the ribs, pull back the abdominal wall, all the air out. And then inhale, restack your spine back up to tall and straight. Bend the knees, slide the feet towards you. Exhale, push back again. Now let your right arm open out to the side and close. Left arm opens out to the side and closes. Right arm and close, left arm and close. One more each way. Last one. And roll up, pulling your heels towards you. Slide the legs away, reach the arms forward, head bows between 2 arms, reach forward. But now on your next exhale, pull back the ribs, pull back the abdominal wall. Everything reaches forward except your spine that pulls back. Roll all the way up to sitting tall, and now bring the soles of the feet together. So the knees pointing outward, and then you're going to bring your arms to mirror the shape of your legs. So there's this little bend into the elbows. Rolling back from here, I want you to pay attention to the place where the knees want to lift. And at that point, I want you to stay there. Now both arms lift and lower, and lift and lower. Last two. Last one. And roll all the way up. Good. Now reach the arms forward and roll yourself all the way down into the floor. Interlace the fingers and bring the hands to the back of your head. Close your elbows in, and then we're going to be picking up one leg at a time. So if you can feel that the legs are too far away from you, walk them in a little bit. You generally can know that it would be tricky for you to pick the legs up. So long neck, thumbs running down the back of your neck, eyes on the ceiling. Let your upper body come up and come forward. Now one leg comes up. Anchor your head over your belly button, your back to the floor, and bring the second leg up. Let the legs go down an inch, up an inch, down an inch, up an inch. Very small, no arching back off the floor. One more time. And then bring the knees in and let it release. Slide your legs all the way out to long and flip over onto your stomach. And on your stomach, bring your arms into W position. And for you guys, have your neck long, the tip of your nose down onto the floor. So really essential right now that you get the top of your shoulders away from your ears, your shoulder blades connected down your back. Okay, the ribs go light, pubic bone goes heavy. As you inhale, the gaze goes forward and up. Hold there, press your hands down and drag your floor towards you to pull your chest forward and up. Now see if you can pick your elbows off the floor and straighten them. It's perfectly fine to move the hands if that's what you need to get up onto straight arms. Now look over one shoulder, bring your chin down on your chest, look over the other shoulder. Reverse that, look down to your chest, look over the other shoulder, and then lower the elbows down and lower you down. So as you come up, gaze goes forward and up. Pause here, press the tops of your feet in the floor, and imagine you could slide your legs away from you. Against that, press your hands down and pull the floor towards you as the chest comes forward. You want to see if you can find that opposition, legs reaching one way, chest pulling the other. Then press through the hands, come to straight arms. Now from here, keep your nose pointing straight ahead of you, and then start to turn it to the right until your chin is looking over your right shoulder. Come back, looking directly ahead of you. Look over your left shoulder. Come back to center and release yourself back and down. Fold your hands in underneath your forehead. Rest your forehead all the way down. So light on the ribs, heavy on the pubic bone. Either one leg lifts or both legs lift. I'll leave it up to you because you know what's better for your back right now, and let it release. If you're doing single legs, just keep alternating. So as the legs come up, can you make them longer and longer and longer? And can you really put your focus into the back of the knee joint, that it tries to open and lengthen as the legs lift? There's no point where the legs coming up gets to push the rib cage down into the floor. One more time. And then from here, flip over to lie on one side. Lengthen both legs all the way out. And then as ever, when you're side lying, make the top leg longer. Spare hand can go on the floor. It's right in front of the belly button. There's a little bit of lean into it. And then I want you to bring your top leg up. So it's about hip height. You have a sense that your ankle is level relative to the side of your pelvis. Stay here and make 6 little circles. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold. Now take the leg up another 2-3 inches. Not very big, but a little bit higher than hip height. Push out into the heel and circle again. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Bring the leg up another 2-3 inches. Now here is where trouble starts, because your waist is going to want to collapse to the floor. Push the leg out and away from you and circle here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Come down 2-3 inches. Go longer. Little pulses up and down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Come down a little bit more until you think your ankle and the side of your pelvis are level, and little pulses up and down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let the leg come all the way down. Bring the leg back up to hip height. Swing it front, swing it back. Swing it front, swing it back. Can you keep leaning into the floor hand, particularly as the leg swings back? And I know some of you are having to be careful in the space that you're in, but just see if you can get a little bit of speed into it. It doesn't have to be big, but you just want it to be quite quick. Last one. And then glue the legs together. Okay, push up. So sit off to this side sitting position. Now, if you have knee issues, just be careful with this. If it doesn't suit, we're going to be through it in a minute and then maybe just skip it out. So I want you to see whether you're able to bring yourself up onto your knees and then back down and off on one side. Up onto your knees, back down and off onto one side. So it really employs the hip hinge, which opens at the top, the hip hinge, which opens at the bottom. So ideally, the spine really stays pretty flat and straight, and it's the power of your derriere to be able to push you up and to bring you down. When you're sitting on the floor, swing the legs to the other side, and then see how it is on this side to come up and back down. Is there one side that has that more to get you up? Or can you find an element of grace in the motion? Good. One more time. Cool. Okay, so slide the legs out to long. Bring yourself all the way down onto your side. Push out into both heels. So the top leg really lengthens, comes up to hip height. Small circles. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold. Bring the leg up a little bit higher than hip height. Push out into the heel and circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Now bring the leg a little bit higher, and then this is the place where you're really going to have to work to push that leg out and keep your waist away from the floor. Circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Come down 2-3 inches. You're a little bit higher than hip height, and circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Did it different this side. So can you pulse for me? Up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold.
come down in line with the top of your pelvis, and little pulses up and down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and bring it all the way down. Stretch it long, bring it hip height, swing it front, swing it back, swing it front, swing it back, to the front, to the back. All right, one more time. And let it release. Okay, flip over onto all fours. And just bring your shoulders, elbows, wrists stacked up on top of each other. Draw your shoulders down your back. And as you exhale, tuck the tail under. Mindfully move up through your spine, allowing each and every backbone a moment to arch up toward the ceiling. As you inhale, release the tail up and away. Let your abdominals relax and hang to the floor. Let the ribs hang to the floor. Bring the gaze up, and this would also be a good place to think about pulling the chest forward through your hands. One more time, exhale, tuck the tail under. Let your head come all the way in. Inhale as you release out of it. Chest comes up and forward. And then can you find for me middle ground? So the neck is long, your eyes are in the center of your mat, somewhere just beyond your hands. The ribs are a little lifted, the low back has a natural curve in it. And without changing any of that, bring out the opposite arm and leg. Now let the leg and the arm move out to the side, come home, and bring it back in. So opposite arm and leg, reach forward, let them move out to the side, come home, and come in. And so throughout the movement, you're trying to feel that the pelvis stays relatively still. So you can see that I don't take my leg too far to the side because I can feel how much I want to drop into that left side. One more each way should have us balanced. And then when you come on back to center, tuck all 10 toes under, lift your tail up toward the ceiling, walk your hands back towards your toes, softening your knees as much as you need to. Take your time to roll your spine up towards the top until you're all the way standing. When you're all the way standing, if you have a mat, use the edge of the mat. If you don't, it's really not the end of the world. You just want to imagine that you're trying to be on a tightrope. So you're going to take your feet, one in front of the other, and stand to the edge of your mat, or just so that you would create a straight line in front of you. Drop your shoulders down, put your gaze out on the horizon. Pause there for a moment and just see if you can ground down into the big toe joint rather than gripping with the big toe, the baby toe joint, and the center of the heel. And that would be applicable to both feet. Then can you stay here and close your eyes for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then let your eyes open. Okay, now step whichever is your back leg forward. It's ridiculous. You know you're only on the edge of a mat. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it suddenly feels like you're really balancing on something, like a precipice. So again, with the eyes open, center your body between the two legs. You don't want to be leaning forward. Eyes out on the horizon. A moment to play with how you distribute the weight through the feet. And then close your eyes and hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your eyes open. Now, without looking down, can you walk forward 1 foot in front of the other like a little tightrope walker just tracking either the edge of your mat or trying to get a sense that you're really walking a straight line. And then can you walk backwards without looking back? That's the only reason the mat can be helpful, because you can kind of feel when you're veering off into opposite direction. And when you reach the back edge of your mat, you guys are done.